Hi, in today's video I will show you how to make glowing podium. This will help you to learn more about different blending modes and how to combine them. By the end of this video you will learn how to make reflections on surface using opacity mask and get to know such tools as Mesh, Shape Builder, Envelope Distort and Free Transform. I am Veronica, Vector Illustrator, owner and creator of Real Vector, and on this channel I'm revealing my process of creating stunning works with less effort and better quality. Let's dive into my new tutorial. Before making this illustration, I divided it into planes: the background, an object, and an effects. So we start from the first group, creating the background. You can have any size of your artboard, mine you can see on the screen, just make sure that it has horizontal orientation. After create rectangle with rectangle tool, make sure that it fits the sides of your artboard. Then double click on fill to fill it with dark blue color. Press OK and lock the layer in the layers panel so it doesn't move. Right click on rectangle tool and choose the ellipse to create an ellipse. Choose the eyedropper and then click on the background to choose the color of the background. Mesh and click in the middle of ellipse to make mesh shape. Double click on fill. While the anchor point is chosen, we can choose the color. I've adjusted the size with selection tool and changed a little bit the color of the middle anchor point. Dark blue color will go, we can adjust colors later. Now with direct selection tool, I choose all anchor points and then shift click in the middle anchor point to deselect it and drop opacity to 0 of chosen anchor points. I'm moving anchor points with direct selection tool and creating desired shape. Basically, we are creating light under our podium and over it, and that's going to be our background at the moment. Unlock rectangle, then press Alt and drag it up to create a copy. Choose everything together, right click, make clipping mask. Something similar that we were making before. Take a rectangle tool, make a rectangle, then choose Mesh, and click in the middle to create an anchor point. With eyedropper, choose the color in the middle of the ellipse. Right click on Free Transform and choose Perspective Distort to make symmetrical distortion of the shape. These two meshes we are going to put under clipping mask. Like this we are helping ourselves to organize the place and divide the object from the background. Moving the shape lower and then putting it inside the clipping mask. We will choose blending mode and it will help us to blend nicely this mesh into the background. Transparency, or go to transparency and then choose screen blending mode. This blending mode is often used for creating light effects like lens flares or editing highlights to an image. Choose all anchor points of rectangle except the upper middle one and then adjust the color to black. For the moment we are done with background, so collapse the clipping mask and lock the layer. In the next part we are going to make the podium, the object itself. We will start to use some tools to create realistic effects for creating volume and light reflections. Let's keep going and go to the next part. Are you ready for the next step? Now go to rectangle tool, right click, choose ellipse and make ellipse. Hold Alt and shift ellipse a little bit lower to create another ellipse. Now pay attention, we have to go to rectangle tool, make a rectangle between two ellipses and make sure that they are aligned together. You can go to window and check if your snap to point is on. Choose lower ellipse and rectangle together and pathfind unite both objects. Keep Alt and Shift up ellipse to create another ellipse. go to Shape Builder, hold Alt and select the upper ellipse to delete it. Now we choose the ellipse, go to Gradient, Linear Gradient and adjusting the colors. Choose 90 degrees. I will make the gradient from light gray to dark. Like this it will have an effect of light from above, but at the same time our podium still is in darkness, so I want to have this interesting effect. Navigator in the right hand corner helps me to see my whole work and control it, even if sometimes I zoom in and out and lose control of what is happening actually in the whole board and how it looks. And now I actually make 2 copies of ellipse from top and drag it down. This is going to be a little shadow under our podium. Keep shift and choose both ellipses to drag them together. Now lower ellipse we have to make a little bit bigger. Choose these 2 ellipses and use a shortcut to make blend. Now the bigger ellipse should be white, so make it white, and later you will understand why, because when we do transparency mode multiply, this white we will not see on the background, it will just disappear and we will have a nicely made shadow. To make sure that it doesn't bother us, we can choose again this ellipse and go to opacity and make it 0. I'm not very satisfied with the shape, so I will a little bit change it, but this step you can actually skip if you're happy with yours. It's just mine, I want to make sure that everything is perfect, so wait a moment. I could actually leave it as it is, because probably in the end you will not see much difference, but I still did it. Okay, done. Are you still there? Let's get going. Choose the rectangle tool and now we're going to make reflections on the board of the podium. First we go to transparency and choosing color dodge blending mode. Now you will see what it will make. It will make a nice light. And after adjust the color through gradient with lighter color in the middle and the dark one almost black on the sides. It shouldn't be very bright, it's still black podium, but I do want to have a little bit of shininess on it, so we understand that it's not totally rough surface and it's a little bit reflective. So I will make few more rectangles like this, and I think that's going to be it. With direct selection tool I can move the anchor points, and like this it will be aligned with the shape. I constantly look in my navigator, like this I can see better full screen the whole work, and it helps me to understand where I can put these rectangles, where I can put the light and what I have to change. Using pen tool I'm adding one more rectangle. Eyedropper helps me to choose another color, and I adjust it in gradient window. Now I'm adjusting the shape and the gradient of these reflections, and maybe I will add a few more on the right side. The more little details you put in your work, the more realistic it looks, so take your time and make sure that you enjoy the process. Okay, I think it's enough. I added about 5 reflections and grouped them together. Now what I do, I lock all the layers so they don't move and don't bother me, and create another ellipse. I zoom in, choose mesh and put a dot in the middle to create a mesh object. And now with direct selection, I move anchor points along the border of Podium to create a nice line. With this ellipse I want to create a nice transition between top part and side part of Podium, because before it was very sharp. Now I want a bit to soften the angles. How we do it? We choose a lighter color, and after, with direct selection tool, we choose all anchor points except the middle one, and then put opacity to 0. And like this we will have a soft light in the middle, and then everything goes until it disappears, the light is disappearing. Here I have to add one more anchor point into the mesh, and not choosing direct selection tool, but actually while I'm in mesh tool I can move my anchor points and align it with the object. For this middle anchor point I choose a little bit lighter color, so the light is shining more from left and above. And then I remember also to put darker color on other anchor points, like this, then they blend well together with the object. And always remember to do like this, even though you make an opacity to 0, when your color is off, you will still see the merge between the object and your mesh. So make sure that the color of your anchor points, it's more or less the same as the color of your object. I'm moving a little bit with direct selection this mesh, making it a little bit thinner, and at the same time in my navigator window I can see the whole picture, even though I'm zoomed quite a lot, so it helps me to do not lose the whole work. And as I said about the anchor points, I am making this anchor point a little bit darker. Like this you will not see so much the merge between this mesh object and the Podium itself. Depending on blending mode, you can choose different color of external anchor points. For example, in color dodge, if you put black, then it will be totally transparent. You won't see it and it will blend nicely, especially on a darker background. So depending on your background, you have to choose the certain color of your anchor points. Even though the opacity to 0, it's not always going to be so transparent and you can't see it. So you have to play a little bit and understand which color mode and which color you should put. On this side I did the same. I added one more anchor point, and now I'm aligning the anchor points with the object. So one of the tools that I'm using to soften the edges, it's actually mesh tool. When I see something sharp like these two surfaces that they merge together and make the sharp angle, I put on top mesh with a little bit transparency, and in the middle there is some color, usually lighter one, and then the angles they are becoming more soft. 3 anchor points on the side, they have all of them, they have opacity 0, and another one in the middle I made the same color as the anchor point in the middle, but probably I should do it a little bit darker. I don't know, let's see. And same thing I do here. I move anchor points and I make them same color as the object underneath, like this. I don't see the merges so much. I hold and drop this mesh into the group with other reflections. Now I want to soften the edge on the bottom, so I hold Alt and make a copy of this mesh, drag it down and put multiply mode to make it more shadow looking like. Now this lower mesh, I don't want to touch it so much because I already like the result. I will just align a little bit anchor points and make few middle anchor points a little bit darker. Okay, finally let's go to the light effects. Lock all the layers and unlock the path layer. While holding Alt, I'm making a copy of this path. One path, the lower one I'm locking, and then making another copy of it. So in between them I will have a line which I will need. This is going to be our light. Selecting them together, then reshaping, making it a little bit lower and moving these shapes so it will look, the ellipses of the shape will look aligned with the object. Now finally we can use Shape Builder. Select both objects together, then choose Shape Builder, hold Alt and choose the paths which you don't want, which you want to delete. And here we have our shape which we needed for the light. Now choose any dark gray color and don't forget to drag this path on top of all the layers, otherwise we will not see it. Now I go Object, Offset Path and choose something, let's say -20. This is going to be the inner glow which we are going to make next. With preview on you can see the results and press OK. With direct selection tool you can choose lighter color of this path in the middle, and after select both of them and with a hotkey you can make blend and see the result. If I see it didn't come out well, so what we can do, we can open this blend in the layers panel, choose the small path which we have, go to Object, Path, Simplify and make less anchor points and see if it will help us. It helped as we see, it just now in the corners we have a little bit of this problem. So in this case you can try to add some more anchor points or move anchor points around and see if something will actually help. So let me try to solve this problem. I just moved this inner anchor points a little bit on the sides and I think it looks fine. I like the result. Let's keep going. Hold Alt and drag this blend up to make a copy. Lock the lower blend. We choose the blend which is on top and go to Transparency and select Screen Blending Mode. Select the path in the middle and double click on Fill. Change color to light azure one. Hide in the Layers panel the upper blend, and in the lower one choose the middle path and then add one anchor point in the middle. It will actually help us to solve the problem of blend the corners in between. Do the same with another blend. Unlock it in the Layers panel and add one more anchor point in the middle. Hold Alt and drag down the upper blend to create a copy and lock the layer. Choose these 3 anchor points and drag them down. And same do with 3 anchor points on top. By this we are creating more blurred light and it will make this light effect more realistic. I'm choosing a little bit darker color in the middle path, like this it will not be as bright. And this path should be totally black. I'm choosing black color and press OK. Always keep your Layers panel clean, so I am choosing 3 blends and grouping them together, and also make sure that your layers they're all aligned in the proper way. Sometimes you can even name them if you want, or if you're actually working in a group, because it's much more easier after to navigate in your work inside. Unlock the clipping group and choose the mesh. There with direct selection tool you can choose the middle anchor point and make the color a little bit brighter. Then I'm collapsing the clipping mask and locking the layer. Now I want to adjust a little bit the light, so I'm unlocking this group with reflections, and this mesh I'm choosing with direct selection middle anchor point and making the color a little bit more towards the glow which we have, like blue azure one. It's nice also to decide which glow color and light color you want to have and keep them all in the same group, or maybe grouped in 2 groups. One is the glow, which is one color and all the reflections going to be in one color, and another one light from above, which maybe will be yet another color, or everything the same, like in this particular example, all a little bit azure neon color. So when I will want to change it, maybe with my different work or illustration, I want to change this light, it will be easier to change all together and it will go nicely. For example, in blue, in red, in yellow, in green, you can change it all at the same time. If you have all your lights, bits and pieces, reflections in different colors, then it will be difficult to change all together, because after you will have the whole rainbow in your work. So better to keep the light, 1-2 colors maximum, to have it nice and clean. Now I want to make a reflection from surface on Podium, so I take ellipse tool and make it mesh. This is the subtle reflections from the light bouncing from surface and reflecting on this a little bit metallic shiny Podium. All anchor points should be totally black, except the middle anchor point. Like this, for sure, when we do the blending mode, it will blend nicely into the surface. Now I want to change the shape of this mesh using envelope distort, so I go Object, Envelope Distort, Wrap Options, and change a little bit the parameters to make my desired shape. Later, when I click OK, I can still change it with direct selection tool the anchor points until desired. Don't be afraid of the look of your object when you do this envelope distort, because it does change a bit colors, how they blend, but after, when you click Object Expand, it will all go to normal. so don't forget to expand your envelope. And you can play with the transparency blending modes. You can choose different and see which one you like the most, and maybe to change the color of middle anchor point. For example, with color dodge I need lighter color, so I will change it. In my navigator window I can already see how this mesh makes a nice reflection light. Here I am just adjusting the size and color of middle anchor point and see what works the best. I hold Alt and make a copy of this mesh and drag it down in front of this podium. So basically this is the light that it's reflecting in our podium, and we want to make it a little bit brighter so we understand from where it comes. Aligning middle anchor points with another mesh and also resizing it, and with direct selection tool I can move anchor points separately until I think that everything works together perfectly. Now let's organize the layers. Unlock these layers and group them. Hold Shift and choose one by one. Ctrl G and we group them. Now the most interesting, how to make a reflection on surface. You have to hold Alt and drag down the object, or sometimes you have to flip it horizontally, but since it's ellipsed, or better to drag it just down. Make sure that this layer is under layer of your object. This mesh we can delete because it's actually shouldn't be there. And this one as well. Cover this layer with rectangle. Now we have to make a gradient on this rectangle. Make 90 degrees and gradation from gray to black. Remember to put it under the object, but over our reflection. Choose these two objects together. Go to transparency. Where are three lines, you will find make opacity mask, so click on it. We did reflection on surface, but now we have to adjust it. You should choose this layer, this clipping mask that we made, go to transparency and click on this square. Now we basically enter this clipping mask, so now we can go to gradient and change our gradient like this. It will nicely fade to black. If you put white color in your clipping mask, it means that you will see completely the object. If you put black, you will not see it at all. So we will have to play with gray hues to make a nice transition from seeing our reflection to completely disappearing. So don't put totally white, but also totally black should be somewhere in the end. You can also try to use radial gradient, sometimes it works better. It depends on your object and which reflection you want to make. So in this case I'm trying to play with gradient, with radial gradient, because might be on this object it will work better. Remember again, darker values will make your object disappear and the lighter values will make your object appear more. So play with this and you will make your perfect reflection. Now, how to come out of this clipping mask? Go again to transparency and click on a square with your object. Basically we made opacity mask, or how it's called, transparent gradient mask. I want to adjust the opacity of this reflection a little bit and then group everything together. Now I locked all the layers, go to rectangle tool and I made a rectangle in front of Podium. I want to make light around Podium a little bit more brighter because the surface is also reflecting and we need more light. Same mesh, click in the middle of rectangle tool to create a mesh. Sometimes you can use swatches to choose the color or do it through fill panel. I did it through swatches, and go to transparency mode and choose color dodge. Also drag the layer down on the Podium and shadow. Hold Alt and make a copy of this mesh. Then lock the layer and with another mesh go to Object, Envelope Distort, and we're going to distort it a little bit to make it more rounded. Remember to keep it symmetrical, because in this case it should be symmetrical. Then after clicking OK, we're still adjusting it through free transform. These two tools, they are pretty similar but at the same time different, yet this object we can do it with free transform as well. It depends on what you want to achieve. You can use either envelope distort or free transform. Free transform has two functions. It can be asymmetrical or symmetrical. In this case I use symmetrical transform to remember that my shape is mostly symmetrical. I don't like how flat it looks, so I go again to Object, Envelope Distort and make it more rounded again. After finishing adjusting, I go to Object, Expand and expand this shape. I can continue adjusting it using Direct Selection tool. Put it in a position of reflection of Podium light. Choosing these two meshes and making opacity higher. Then adjusting a little bit the shapes of this light. Done with this light. Now unlock all the layers except the background, and we are going to adjust the light on the top ellipse. We have the light color from above, which is turquoise azure one. So now we need to adjust the color of top ellipse. For this, I copy this ellipse, go to transparency and choose overlay blending mode and change its color to azure turquoise one. You can also choose this recolor artwork tool to choose the color. When you have multiple colors, it's very comfortable and useful to use this tool rather than just fill one. Now I see that probably also lower side we will need to use this path, so copy the lower path in Podium, drag it up, and after choose the same color of ellipse. Find Pathfinder and unite both objects together. Bring it all the way up, and now we have our path and our podium all in the same color. Last adjustments in color and light, and here we have our glowing podium. I hope you found this tutorial useful and learned something new. And for now, to do not lose me and be always in touch, you can subscribe to my channel and see you in the next video. Bye!